Hey, good morning, Choice Residential. Hope your day's off to a terrific start. Today, I'm going to quickly touch on the October 2024 revision of the Cooperative Compensation Agreement. Really just minor kind of clerical changes here. But the good news is they were able to reduce it down to just one page. So there's not a second page for signatures anymore. They got it down to just one page. So for the most part, this document is going to be the same as it was before. Just one main thing I want to point out to you, which is this last sentence here in paragraph 3, which just adds clarity to the fact that even though a listing firm may agree to pay the fee in this agreement, if the seller breaches the contract and doesn't close, and therefore the listing firm does not get paid, then the buyer agent firm is not going to get paid. So that was probably enforced on the old version of the form, but they want to make sure it's crystal clear. If the listing firm is not getting paid because the seller breaches, they're not going to be responsible for paying the buyer agent firm. Keep in mind, if the seller does breach and they go after the seller for that listing commission and they receive it, then there is legal rules around unjust enrichment, which would allow the buyer agent firm to still be compensated then. So it kind of hinges on whether or not the listing firm gets paid or not. So I want to add clarity to that. And then this last thing here, buyer signs below only to acknowledge and consent to the fee. This is important because if you are receiving more than what's in your buyer agency agreement, this is evidence that the buyer has consented to you receiving that additional compensation. But also, if you are receiving less than what is in your buyer agency agreement, so let's just say, for example purposes, you were receiving 2.5% as a buyer agent commission in your agency agreement, but the seller or listing firm only agreed to pay 2% towards your compensation. Well, then per the agency agreement, the buyer is going to owe you an additional 0.5%. This provides clarity to the buyer that they know they owe you 2.5%. They know that only 2% of that is being covered by the seller or listing firm, and that they would be responsible for paying you that additional 0.5%. Now, of course, at our firm, Choice Residential, you have the option on whether or not you enforce that or not. But if you are enforcing it, especially, this makes sure that they understand what their costs are going to be at closing. So make sure you're having you are signing this document as the buyer agent and selling firm, and that your buyer is also signing it. One other just quick note, while we do prefer that both the listing firm and seller always sign this form, there's no reason that all four parties, listing firm, seller, selling agent firm, and buyer, no reason all four parties shouldn't be signing it. But for compliance purposes, all we really need is if the seller is paying the fee, then they need to sign it. If the listing firm is paying the fee, then the listing agent needs to sign it. We prefer both, but you only need, for compliance purposes, the one who is actually paying the fee. If you have questions about this form or ever have a situation where you're not sure what it all means, please reach out. We want to make sure you are crossing your T's and dotting your I's, especially when it comes to compensation. Thanks. Until next time, take care.